All right, y'all. So, yo, are people tripping? Is this an overreaction? Like this whole Steph Curry situation. What kind of nimpy is Steph Curry? Bro, I did not know what a nimpy was. I literally had to look up the definition of a nimpy. I was like, yo, what is a nimpy? But I guess it's an acronym for not in my backyard. Not in my backyard. We ain't gonna have all that in my backyard. And that's exactly what Steph Curry is saying. Steph is living in like a $30 million house, right? In literally the most expensive neighborhood in the United States, Atherton, California. He's living in a $30 million house. So in California, for those of you who do not know, in California, since everything is so crazy expensive, and since we have, the wonderful governor that is Gavin Newsom, aka the Antichrist, he's established, or California has established, whoever has established that throughout each neighborhood in California, I believe there has to be at least one low income housing development available, because it's crazy expensive to live in California. I live in California. It's crazy expensive to live in California. It's like $3,000 for like a studio apartment, no bathroom. You got to buy your own stove, like no washer. It's crazy. Like it's crazy. So with all that being said, Steph Curry, he don't want any apartment dwellers living in his neighborhood because he's paying the big bucks. He's paying $30 million. He's paying $30 million for a house to live in. And I know he has a family. I think he has like, maybe 3 kids, maybe 4. I think it's 3. I think he has 2 daughters and 1 son. So let's just say a family of 5 or 6, and you're living in a $30 million house. Now, hey, kudos to you, bro. You're successful. You're one of the best basketball players, one of the greatest basketball players to ever, play the sport. And you're making millions of dollars. You're literally making what? 40, 50, 60 million dollars per year. Like most people don't even, 99.9% of people will never see $50 million in their lifetime, let alone touch that much money in real life in 1 year. But he's seeing that every single year. Look, from a Christian standpoint, because once again, Steph Curry, and I don't know if you can see this, but Steph Curry is a believer. Let me open this up in a new tab because this is his words. This is not my words. Here's Steph Curry's Twitter. Believer, husband of 2, father to Riley, Ryan, and Canaan, son, brother, Warriors guard, Davidson Wildcat, Philippians 4:13. So he's a self-proclaimed believer. He's a self-proclaimed Christian. And it's not a good look when you are as successful as he is, when you are, openly saying that you're a Christian and that God is the most important thing to you. In my opinion, and we can go many different directions when it comes to this conversation from a political standpoint, but from a Christian standpoint, it's not a good look to oppose these type of things, to oppose a low income development apartment project that is within close proximity to your $30 million home, simply because of privacy concerns, simply because of you don't want people knowing where you live, simply because the safety of your family and stuff like that. And I get it. I understand. Like I get it. He's one of the most famous people on this earth, quite frankly. However you want to slice it, you would want a certain amount of privacy and safety and protection for your family, right? A certain amount of discreetness for your family. But from a Christian standpoint, this is just not a good look, man. It's not a good look. So he wrote an email. And this is the email, apparently. It says, from Steph Curry, January 18th, 2023. It says Mayor Wildmore, City Manager Roderick. So it says, as Atherton's, so this is apparently from Steph and his wife. As Atherton residents, specifically Selby Lane, we have been following along with the housing element updates with special interest in the 23 Oakwood property. We were pleased when the December meeting concluded with leaving multifamily housing off of private properties and the council recognition that 23 Oak does not contribute to the very low or low income numbers required by the state. We hesitate to add to the "not in our backyard" literally rhetoric, but we wanted to send a note before today's meeting. Safety and privacy for us and our kids continue to be one of the top priorities and one of the biggest reasons we chose Atherton as home. With the density being proposed for 23 Oakwood, there are major concerns in terms of both privacy and safety, with 3-story townhomes looming directly behind us. We kindly ask that the town adopts the new housing element without the inclusion of 23 Oakwood. Should that not be sufficient for the state, we ask that the town commits to investing considerably taller fencing and landscaping to block sight lines onto our family's property. Thank you for your consideration. Thanks and God bless, Stephen and Aisha Curry. How does this email even get out? Is this supposed to be public information? I feel like this is not supposed to be public information, but whatever. We're going to talk about it. Look, they said, yo, we have this property. We spent a lot of money on this property. Y'all are trying to build some 3-story townhouse that are going to be overlooking our property, and it's threatening the safety and the privacy of us and our family. And they said, yo, we don't want that property, those townhomes to be built. But if you are going to build those townhomes, if there's nothing that we can do to stop you, then please give us a higher fence and higher gates and build some bushes and some trees so these brokies can't look into our property. That's basically what they just said. And that's why I said it's not a good look from a Christian standpoint, because check it out. I understand, like I said, safety is a big concern, right? But are we assuming that everyone who's low income is after you and your family, that they're going to harm you and your family? Like, come on now. Come on now. You know, privacy is a concern. Well, you're already living in a $30 million house. Like, you are Steph Curry. And listen, I don't want to go down this route, but we gonna go down it. You chose that career path, and you knew that with success in that career path came the potential to be known worldwide. And now you're here, and now you're complaining about it. And now you're trying to block people from having access to affordable housing, which according to, and listen, I guess we're going to get political now. He's a Biden supporter, open Biden supporter. And look, you can do whatever you want. You can identify with whatever political party you want to identify with. All right. That's on you. But as somebody who is openly supporting Biden and, you know, the Democratic Party, these are initiatives that are coming from that party that you're supporting. And now when it's happening in your backyard, suddenly it's a problem. But if I look at this from a Christian standpoint, it's like, bro, let those people have a place to live. Let those people have affordable housing. Let them have an opportunity to move their family into an area that's going to give their children a better opportunity for a better education and just a better environment overall, so that they can have a chance to raise a healthy family. And so maybe they can have a chance to raise children who, you know, can experience the same level of success, or even a fraction of the same level of success that Steph and his family have experienced. But according to this, they want nothing to do with that. And it's not a good look. It's not a good look. And that's why, you know, I was asking the question. I said, you know, are they starting to put money and fame above God? And I don't know anything about Steph Curry. Obviously, I've never met him. Like, obviously, right? I've never met Steph Curry, but I can see the things that he says. Steph Curry explains moment he truly became a Christian and gave my life to Christ. It says, faith begins with Curry explaining how at the end of the day, his faith resides in his creator, because he knows he can only control so much and that there is a much bigger power controlling the universe. Steph said, my faith is tested on the court as much as it is in life. It's the part that always keeps me focused on what I need to do when it comes to my family, when it comes to my job, when it comes to how I treat other people. My appreciation for life and all good things that happen and how to deal with bad things that happen. I put believer first. And remember, we saw on his Twitter, it says believer. He says the reason he puts believer first is because that is supposed to be the roots of everything that I do as a believer, as a husband, as a father, and on down from there. Faith to me is believing in the unseen and having a conviction that there is a higher power that has given me a purpose to what I am doing on this earth, he added. For me, that is the foundation to how I live my life, and I want to see the world through that lens. It says, my faith is about the personal relationship more than following a certain religious tradition or practice. Challenges you make to make sure that you are feeding your spirit with the right things versus what the world is throwing at us. It's a constant battle. If I say I have it down, I'd be lying. This article was posted in 2019. So this is what, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago? How many years ago was that? 20, 21, 22, 23, 4 years ago. It's interesting that he said that. And, he said that he puts believer first in his bio because he's a believer first before anything else. And that's how it should be. Even before, that's why, if you don't have God at the center of your marriage, if God is not the number one priority in your marriage is going to fall apart. Because here's the thing, whether you want to like it or not, no matter how much you love somebody, no matter how much you care about somebody, you're going to get a little bit of sick of them sometimes. You're going to get a little bit annoyed with them sometimes. You're going to get a little bit of like, bruh, like, I don't know if I can do this sometimes, right? Just keep it real. For people who don't have God in their marriage, when those situations happen, when they get annoyed, when they get sick, when they don't feel like doing this anymore from a marriage standpoint, if you don't have God, that's the moment when you walk out. That's the moment when you divorce. But if you're somebody who believes in Christ and you put God at the center of your marriage as it's commanded in the Bible, then when you have those moments, then you can lean on God and you can say, look, God is at the center of our marriage. No matter what happens, I want this relationship, I want this marriage, I want our family to be pleasing to God. So God is going to be the number one priority, and pleasing God is going to be the number one priority. And if I do everything that it is possible that I can in order to, please God from a marriage standpoint, then that's going to trickle down, and then, we're going to have a successful marriage by default. Now, I use that example, and I know that's a long-winded example, but I use that example because that's what it should be in everything that we do. In everything that we do, we should acknowledge God. In everything that we do, we should put God first. In everything that we do, we should put God in the center of it. The Bible says, don't worry about anything, but pray about everything. Don't worry about anything, but pray about everything. So if we're calling ourselves believers, if we're saying that Christ is the most important thing to us in our life, why are we worried about a housing project that is being built behind your $30 million estate? Why are you worried about that? Why are you worried about that? You've been blessed beyond measure. God has poured out the cup on your life and your family's life beyond measure. Why are you worried about potentially other families having an opportunity to step into a nicer neighborhood and have an opportunity to thrive and to be in a better situation and to be in a better environment? Why are you worried about that? Why are you pressing so hard to not make that happen? Why are you making it all about just your family and your family's protection and your family's privacy? What about the other families who are just trying to get by, who are just trying to make ends meet? Why go through an effort to try to shut that down at the expense of potentially the damnation of, I don't even know how many families, maybe hundreds of families that might not have an opportunity to live in that complex, who might not have an opportunity to, you know, have a nicer area, a nicer environment for their children. You know, if you're really that concerned about it from Stephen Curry's standpoint, and I'm just talking from a faith standpoint once again, because we can go into whole other different conversations. We can go into conversations about the politics and stuff like that. I'm trying to talk from a faith standpoint, from a Christian standpoint. If you're that concerned, then don't shut down that initiative. Why don't you just move then? You got enough money. You got enough money to move. You got enough money to move. If that's a huge concern to you. But I don't know. You know, I don't want to say that, oh, somebody has fallen away from God or they're putting money above God. Like, you know, we don't know these people's hearts. We don't know these people's hearts, but I do know that, you know, even look at King Solomon. King Solomon was the richest man who will ever live. The Bible says that King Solomon was the richest man who will ever live. He had everything. He had everything. And let's not forget, King Solomon was also the wisest man to ever live. There will not be another man who was richer, deeper pockets, or wiser than King Solomon ever in existence. There will never be anyone to top that. But look at King Solomon. He still fell away from God at one point. He still stepped out and disobeyed God and started marrying these women from these pagan nations. And as he was marrying these women from these pagan nations, he began to adopt the beliefs that these pagan believing and pagan worshiping women had. And that led him to build altars to all these pagan gods, to literally commit sacrifices to these pagan gods. The money, the success, all that kind of stuff had Solomon acting out of character. This is King Solomon. This is the son of David. David, a man after God's own heart. King Solomon is now acting out of character, but he's supposed to be the wisest. He's supposed to know better. But still something got to him. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the money. Maybe it was the success. Maybe it was the feeling of, hey, I can do no wrong because look at how much God has blessed me. But the fact of the matter is, if Solomon fell and experienced that type of distress and that type of devastation, then nobody here on earth is safe, because nobody is going to be as wise as Solomon. Nobody's going to have as much bread as Solomon. Even if you're Steph Curry making 50, 60, 70 million dollars per year, there's still a potential that you could fall. There's still a potential that that money, that lifestyle, that success, that whole world that you're living in could cause you to act out of your godly character and cause you to do things that aren't necessarily pleasing to God. There's still that potential. So look, I like I said, there's a lot of different ways that I could cover this story. I tried to just keep it from a Christian perspective, but regardless, I want to know what y'all think. So get in the comments. Let me know what you think. Is Steph wrong for this? Is he right for this? Would you have done the same thing? Let me know in the comments. Like this video, all right? Become a member on Patreon if you have not already. Support our work. I'm out.